Good afternoon, Jordan. We're here at the East Daviess County Fire Station this afternoon. We're going to talk about some things that we've had happen in the last year or so. It's happened before, but it seems like it's been more prominent in the last year or so. Folks are doing some DIY projects, refinishing floors and refinishing trim and such in the house with stains. I want to thank a couple of community partners that have helped me with this project. Thank Tim out at Lowe's, provided some stain for us to demonstrate with. Thank my friends down at Sherwin-Williams, David, the manager down there, gave me some buckets and some material. And my good friend Dwayne at Lanham Custom Sawing provided some sawdust that you're going to see here a little bit later. What we're going to talk about when you decide to do that project at home, when you're going to refinish that floor or refinish those pieces of trim or doors or door jambs or even a piece of furniture. I want to be careful of what type of stain you're using. Always read those directions and caution labels on these cans. You'll have some pictures later to show some of the warnings that we have. This material, when you put it together, when you have these stain-soaked rags from working on that furniture or that trim, put them together, they can spontaneously combust if you don't dispose of them properly. Two ways to dispose of those properly. Number one, you can take it out away from the house, somewhere out in the yard, lay the rags out, let them dry or cure, as the paint companies will say. It usually takes a couple days, and you can dispose of them in your normal trash. You don't want to leave them in the house. You don't want to put them in a plastic bag or in a bucket or set them on the porch or the deck, because that process starts. And we know for the science behind fire, we have to have three things. We have to have heat, fuel, and oxygen. And these rags, when they start breaking down, that material and the stain starts breaking down, they produce their own heat, and we've got a fire. On the sanding of the floors, when you're refinishing the floor, you know, a lot of us, we think we know everything about refinishing the floor, and we decide we're going to do it. We go rent that sander, and we don't know everything we thought we did. As you refinish that floor, that sanding is creating friction, and that bag is filling up. So that cloth bag, as you empty it, a couple ways you can dispose of that. That sawdust is already heated, and it's got that material in it from that old stain, or maybe even the new stain you put out and don't like and are taking back up. You can put that in a metal bucket and fill it with water. You know, keep water on it. Or again, you can lay it outside, away from the house, away from any kind of structure, and let it dry or cure. It's going to take a couple of days. Don't want to dump it directly in the trash or in the toter, and certainly don't want to leave it in the house or take it to the garage or something like that. So I'm going to reach down and pick up a handful of sawdust. This is some of the dust that I was telling you. It's going to be a very fine material that's going to come out of that bag on that sander, and sometimes it's going to be soaked. Pick up a can here. We've actually taken some sawdust and we've simulated that we put some stain in it. You can see that it has a color to it. We're waiting for this material to produce enough heat and spontaneously combust. We've been waiting a little while, so hopefully it will happen soon. We had a particular fire like this in the past year. The gentleman was doing some sanding and emptied the sawdust into a 5-gallon bucket, left the bucket near the sander upstairs overnight, had a major structure fire within about 12 hours of that. That's the sawdust bucket. Laid it on that drawer for size comparison. Fire started upstairs, spread across the upstairs, and again, I can't get upstairs, but you can tell there's a tremendous amount of damage here, and it gets less damage across, but it was venting out that window on the D side of the structure. Moving on to the rags, we have stained the board today. Used a good quality stain from our friends down at Lowe's. Put some on the board and had some rags that we used. These are the ones. This is not the way you want to dispose of them. So we've got them in this bag, got them tightly packed in the bag, and we're waiting for them to do the same thing, and they will in a short time. So when you dispose of these rags, I've laid a couple here on the floor. Obviously, I don't want them on the floor. I want them outside. Today it's kind of windy, so we didn't go outside. But I'm going to leave these laying for, like I said, a couple days. They will dry or cure, then you can dispose of them. We had a particular fire involving this. Gentleman here in the county had a fire, and the fire department was never called. He was lucky enough where his bag of rags were, and you'll see some pictures in the presentation later of that as well. A water line in another room ruptured and put his fire out. So he had a fire the fire department never actually responded to, but I was called out to it to look at it, and that's exactly what he was doing. He was refinishing hardwood in the kitchen floor and a living room floor and redoing some cabinets. So some things to think about when you're doing those projects. A couple other things you want to do. If you aren't doing any kind of staining or painting or using any type of thinner, especially a lacquer thinner. Lacquer thinner puts off a tremendous amount of vapors. Make sure you don't have any pilot lights on. Make sure you've got the house ventilated. Any kind of ignition source, and that pilot light being one, would not be good for those vapors. Also, you never want to smoke on that job. So if you've got contractors coming in doing this job for you, make sure they're not smoking on site. And make sure as they dispose of their materials, they take it with them or they lay it out and let it cure out like we've talked about. Any questions or want to reach out to us here at Daviess County Fire, again, we're always available. 685-8440, 270 area code is our number at the station. Any questions, anytime we can help, we'd be glad to help you out. Hope you have a good day.